I chose to do my ISM Hip Taoism because hip hop and the Tao have been two very influential things in my life in terms of learning about myself, about my own growth, my own development, things that are really important to me in my culture. Hip hop culture is something that's helped me grow and form who I am alive.
So I had this conversation with a group of students at NYU. During this conversation, we were talking about, the disparaging numbers at which low-income people and minorities are suffering from food-related illness, such as diabetes, hypertension, cardiac issues, vascular disease. We were talking about addressing these issues of health, with our families and with our elders. And there was one young man that said, let's keep it real. I can't tell my grandmother that the way she cooks isn't good enough for me anymore. I feel like really keeping it real is to be admitting that, we are dying, and it's because fatty food is so cheap, and it's because at 20 we're forming really bad habits that come back up to haunt us when we turn 30 and 40.
I am exploring borderism between the US and Mexico. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez, and I am trying to understand my home environment and how it's affected my community on a political and personal level. How to look at borders not just in a metaphorical sense, because a lot of us can look at our identities in terms of borders, but how does a physical border, an actual barrier, affect a whole community?
I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse, and I've been healing for a long time. It's gotten to a point where I went back to graduate school to affect public policy, especially around child welfare issues, and I realized that most policymakers are just not well informed about the reality of child sexual abuse. That child sexual abuse happens to a wide swath of people who, often exist in between those two extreme ends of the spectrum. So I started to think about how could we give people more information about the diversity of narratives around child sexual abuse, and even though I'm a student of public policy, it seemed like I needed to get my feet wet in the idea of media making and story collecting, and that's how I got the idea for this project.
Both Brenda and I are daughters of Mexican immigrants in this country, and growing up we were very influenced by telenovela culture. And these telenovelas were also a way for us to continue our Mexican culture in a way with our families. We would sit down and eat dinner and watch these telenovelas. But now, as more educated women, there are these underlining messages in the formulas of a telenovela that we just think critically and we just kind of question. But really, we're just hoping to expose people to the importance that telenovelas do have on such a big part of the world.